Okay, so welcome to the stream, everybody. This is the Recover Podcast. Do appreciate everybody for tuning in. My name's Buddy. So I had a guest scheduled to come on tonight, and he fucking canceled at the last minute. I ain't dropping names.
You know who you are.
You know who you are. So tonight, instead of me having a guest on to tell their story, I couldn't find another speaker. So I'm going to go through my story of addiction. And back again by popular demand is Brandon. Brandon, a good friend of mine. Me and him basically got sober like at the exact same time, you know, went through the same sober living and everything. And I really trust this guy and everything he has to say. So it's blue on my laptop. Really?
Sub-objective nearby.
Wild. Okay, anyway, I mean, I could just get right into it. I've told this story plenty of times before, so, you know, I was a shithead kid. If you'd like, I was a shithead kid. I think I got arrested my first time when I was 12 years old, stealing Slipknot's.
Mission is progressing.
It was either, I think it was called Hypnosis was the name of the CD. Anyway, so it was the one that had BYOB on it. But I got caught trying to steal that CD from Walmart. And, you know, some stuff happened when I was a kid. Some family members went to jail. And I could see ways that I could use that to my advantage, you know, and manipulate people and make people feel sorry for me, essentially, for what had happened. So I used that to my advantage. And that carried on. You know, at first I think my addiction kind of started with food, because I got really fat when I was a kid. It was like a comfort thing. And, you know, as I got through school, I really didn't have all that many friends. But I know when I was in 6th grade, it was my first year of middle school. I smoked weed for the first time, and I personally never really liked smoking weed. It always just kind of locks me up in my head, and I second guess literally fucking everything that I like. Every movement that I make is second guessed. But I tried drinking for the first time when I was 13. When I was 13, drinking gave me that kind of comfort, right? It made me feel good. It wasn't like everything was right in the world, you know, and I didn't have any problems, or my problems were still there, but it definitely helped me kind of ease up. Like, I know when I was younger, it felt like there was a lot of chaos going on in my head, and I didn't really connect with other people very well on any kind of, like, oh, thanks, Blue, I appreciate it, man. I really had a problem connecting with other people when I was younger, and I always felt apart. And one thing alcohol helped me do was it helped me connect with other people, you know, helped me kind of loosen up. The chaos wasn't as chaotic. And so anyway, I got into high school, and I tried my first pill, I think when I was 14. It was a Xanax. And Xanax had that, it had the feeling that I liked about, like, calming me down, but it just wasn't my thing. And I think the first time I took it, I felt really good, so I kept taking more and more. And I completely blacked out, forgot everything that happened. And funny enough, I didn't like not having that element of control. At least what I thought was control. Just completely blacking out and doing shit I didn't remember, and everyone like, you know, what the fuck happened? Why'd you do that? And I had no clue what they were talking about. But when I was 15, it was either 15 or 16, is when I did my first opiate. and that was a Oxy 80 back when they were the tiny little green things. They hadn't been taken off the market at that point, and it was the first time I did an opiate was it. I felt like everything in the world was right. Everything was exactly how it needed to be. I had no issues. All of my problems had gone away. Physically, I felt amazing. It was the most intense and great feeling I had ever experienced in my life at that point, you know? And I kind of reached this place mentally, like immediately, that this is how I want to feel for the rest of my life. I never don't want to feel like this feeling I have right here. And you know, that progressed from me just spending a little bit of extra money that I had to everything to, you know, I got kicked out of high school for stealing shit from my high school, and I dropped out of high school to get a job so I could afford to pay my habit, and that progressed into, you know, I was spending my check on me paying my dealer back and then immediately getting another float. Like it just got out of hand really quick, especially when I got to be 19. When I was 19, I hit the needle for the first time, and it was the strongest feeling I had ever felt in my life. It was dilaudid at that point. It was the strongest feeling I'd ever felt, you know, and it's the quickest method of administration, but it couldn't happen any slower at the way I felt it at that point. You know what I mean? It was just the most intense and life snatching thing that I had ever experienced. And you know, I ended up getting kicked out of my family's house. I was basically a couch hopper at best, right? Like I really didn't have any form of stability at any point before my addiction. You know, I gave everything to the drug. When I was 21, I went to rehab for the first time. And when I went to rehab, I just dicked around with it. I mean, I didn't really take any of that shit seriously. I kicked the dope, and, you know, I worked the 12 steps, so I got a sponsor, and I lied to him, and it was just like a dick wagon contest with me and everybody in there, because I wanted everyone to know I have been through worse than you have. And that was essentially the goal of me going to a meeting. It was just, I wanted everyone to know how bad shit was for me. I was like 21, you know? So I got to rehab, got high again, shocker. And the next year I got a DUI and I got my license taken away. The year after that, I went, no, 2 years later, I went back to rehab. And I mean, it was the same basic thing, right? It was the same basic thing. I just dicked around, didn't take any of the shit seriously, didn't really want to stop getting high, I think is the kind of basis of it, right? Like that was still the most important thing in my life. I wanted to continue getting high, and I did that. So I got kicked out of that rehab for getting high. They drug tested me. It came up dirty. They had to send me off. So when I got out of rehab and my family had found out that I was getting high, I had nowhere to go. I had no job. And, you know, I was essentially in the streets. I mean, you know, the first time I had ever slept outside I thought was going to be like my, you know, my quote unquote rock bottom, right? Like I figured that was going to be like, this is it. This is going to be the thing that'll motivate me to want to change and want to, you know, do something else. But it wasn't. It had literally no effect. Because I was now like sleeping outside, still trying to find dope, still trying to get high. And I remember, you know, shit just progressed. I was staying with a drug dealer at one point, and making a little money off of basically like he was the one selling and I was just bringing people to him, and that was the way I maintained everything. But something had happened between me and him. I can't even necessarily remember what it was. But I ended up getting kicked out of there because I was, you know, not a trustworthy person. I didn't try, and I remember specifically, right, like I didn't trust anybody else, anybody that was around me. And I really believe it's because I was an untrustworthy person, right? Like, I don't know how to receive this thing from other people. So nobody is worth that thing that I don't know how to earn, you know? So anyway, long story short, my family, they reached out to a friend of mine that I got high with when I was younger, and he had moved up here to the Alabama area and got sober up here. And it was around that time when, like, okay, so I had this duffel bag, and that's what I would carry around with me when I was outside. Just had all my clothes in it, and I had one of the wheels had gotten clogged up with dirt or something. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I remember it wouldn't turn, so to a large degree I was just dragging this fucking duffel bag behind me. And I had done that for so long that one of the wheels had, like, the wheel that wouldn't turn had been sanded down to where it was like round, but there was like a flat part to it because it wouldn't turn anymore. So I had taken that duffel bag up to this plasma clinic in a city called Clearwater, just north of where I'm from, and I had gone there, and I'd gone there to donate plasma the week before, and the way, like, to do the whole thing is you go in and you punch in your information in this kiosk thing, and the kiosk comes up and says, you know, you have you report to this section where a phlebotomist will come over and stick you with a needle and suck your blood out. And when I had gone in there and punched in my information, it said, report to the medical room or the doctors or whoever the fuck it was there that was in charge of that thing. And so I went to the doctors, and they pulled up, and they were like, all right, so we just want to let you know, this isn't like our test isn't, you know, 100% accurate, so you're going to want to go to a doctor before you move forward with anything. But this is what we're showing here is you have hepatitis C and HIV. And I sat in the lobby and I cried, but I wasn't crying because I just found out that I have hepatitis C and HIV. I was crying because I had just walked like an hour and a half up to Clearwater just to get told you're not going to get any dope money today. And it still at that point didn't register. Like, it didn't compute that that was an issue in my life at the time. My life had solely revolved around that. Like, I had honestly, truly gotten to this place in my head where I was not necessarily at peace with it, but I had accepted it, that I'm gonna die out here in the streets of an overdose alone. And I wasn't at peace with that. It wasn't like I was, man, that's awesome, you know. It was just that was something I had accepted, and like to some degree I felt there was, you know, like a poetic justice to it, because I had done a bunch of really fucked up shit to my family, and I deserved my family to cut me off, and I deserved all the friendships that, or friends that had cut me off to cut me off, you know. I earned those things, and I knew I was a piece of shit. So like to me, it was only justifiable that I would go out, you know, with like a nameless grave. Like to me, that's kind of the idea that I had of who I was in my life at that point. And, you know, that kind of self-perpetuating victimhood was just keeping me in the loop, you know, because I would do something shitty when I was desperate for dope, and then I would feel bad about the thing I would do when I wasn't high anymore, so I would, you know, start to obsess about dope so I could run away from this feeling I had about myself. And you know, it was just this constant cycle of going through the motions. And I was, you know, fucking homeless. Like I wasn't homeless like, you know, I'm staying on a friend's couch. Like I was sleeping outside, you know. And I had, homeless people have phones, if you didn't know. So I was at not Walmart, I was at McDonald's, and I was copping Wi-Fi, and I'd gotten a Facebook message from a friend of mine that I'd gotten high with, like, as we were growing up. Like, we grew up together, and he started getting high, and I started getting high, and we got high together, and we kind of ran for a little bit and whatever, but he had dipped out like 3 years before that point. And he reached out to my family, and when he reached out to them, I guess he had basically told them, like, you know, I came up to Alabama and I got sober. It's completely changed my life. Like, my life is full of meaning now, and, you know, I'm happy with who I am, and he's got a kid, and, you know, he's really doing good things for himself. So they told him to reach out to me. He reached out to me and he said, hey, you need to get in contact with your family. So I got in contact with them, and they basically said, like, look, now, mind you, I'm criminally trespassed from their house. I cannot even be on the premises. If I'm on the premises and they call the police, I'm going to fucking jail. He had essentially said, or they had essentially said, if you don't go to Alabama right now, never speak to us again. That was the ultimatum they gave me, you know, because I had talked to them. They just never showed up. Like, I wasn't physically there. They couldn't fucking trust me. So, and it was funny because I was like just at this point where I had burned all the bridges with all of my drug dealers, and I really didn't have anywhere to get dope except one dude, and it wasn't even dope. It was like extended release Oxy 40s, which are fucking garbage. But so I just reached this point in my life where I was like, okay, like, fine, you know, I'm ready to get the fuck out of here. In my head, I still kind of blamed where I was on what was going on, instead of genuinely taking like responsibility and going, I'm ready to change. It was solely about, yeah, this city's wearing down on me and I need to find somewhere else. So moved to Alabama. I can skip some time here. I got here, fucked around, ended up homeless, got kicked out of several different local rehabs and sober livings multiple times. And it was about 6 months in I remember, like, I was homeless here. I was sleeping behind a meeting house. There was a sober living that I was at, and my friend was the director of this sober living. So hold on. It's not. I'm not getting it right there. Sorry. He was the director of this sober living, and I got high, and he had to kick me out for like the final time, right? Like it wasn't there we go. It wasn't the first time I've been kicked out of this place. It was, I think, the third. And when you get kicked out of this place for the third time, they issue you what's called a do not readmit, which means this person cannot come back. They're a fucking can't get right. So I stayed at my sponsor's phase 4 apartment the next night, and sorry, I'm skipping an important part here. My grandmother, when all that stuff happened when I was a kid, she essentially adopted me. She was like the main mother figure in my life for a long fucking time. She died in August of 2018. And, you know, I did a lot to them. A lot of stuff. Like, I still, to some degree, have regrets today, right? It's not like I've forgiven myself, but at the time, I didn't. And I knew I was a piece of shit. And I knew that she did nothing but show me all the love she possibly could, and knew all the stuff that had happened when I was a kid, and really wanted to do her best to make up. Not even necessarily make up for it. She didn't have anything to do with it. But, like, she just wanted to try and make my life better. And I made hers a living hell. Straight up. And she died in August of 2018. And, you know, in my head, I had this idea of, like, oh, thanks, Blue. In my head, I had this idea of this is the thing, right? Like, this is that turning point in my life. How the fuck could I ever get high again? How could I ever do that? With all the stuff I've done in my family, all the bridges I've burned, I'm in a city where I really don't know fucking anybody, and I'm alone. I'm fucking terrified. I'm like sleeping outside, you know. And the second I got the opportunity, the second there was dope in front of me, and I mean, when I say the second, I mean literally the fucking second, I couldn't help myself. I couldn't do anything. Like, all of the pain that I had caused my family, all the pain I'd caused to everyone that had ever trusted me, all the damage I've done in my own life, everything, all of that went out the window. Like, none of it fucking mattered anymore. And it just wasn't there. The only thing that existed was the dope that I could possibly do. And that was it. And so I did it. I got high, and the next day I got drug tested by my buddy, who was the director of that sober living, and he signed me the do not readmit and kicked me out. And I ended up staying at my sponsor's apartment the next day, and he let me stay there, and like, I had a roof over my head. I had food. Like, he gave me food, you know. So all things considered, my physical circumstances were not terrible, right? Like, they weren't as bad as they had been. They had been a lot worse. But I went into his bathroom. It was the next morning. I'd gone into his bathroom, and I was looking in the mirror, and like, I could see myself fucking 20 years into the future, just going in and out of rehab and sober living, and the meetings and like fucking around and not doing it, and then reneging on everything, getting high, crawling back on my hands and knees, and you know, fucking around and not doing it, and just dicking around again and again and again and again and again. And I had this moment with myself where I was fucking terrified that that was going to be the rest of my life, you know? And this may be offensive to some people, but I wouldn't be lucky enough to overdose and I would be stuck living like this for another 2 fucking decades. I was horrified of that concept. Like it literally scared the shit out of me, you know? Well, I guess not literally, but it scared the fucking shit out of me. And I think that was really the moment where I kind of understood, like, I don't want to do this anymore, and I have no fucking idea how I'm gonna stop. Like, I don't know. I thought it was the kind of thing where, like, you know, when shit gets bad enough, I'll just go, okay, I'm good. And that obviously isn't the case, because here I am again in the same position, and now I actually want to stop. And that was like the big moment for me where in the rooms of 12 steps they call it surrender, and that's the moment where I like gave up. I was done, you know. And it wasn't like I'm done getting high so I never got high again, but it was I'm done doing this thing the way I think I could, the way I think it should be done or could be done, or whatever, you know, kind of bullshit idea I had on getting off of drugs. Like, it was gone, right? So that was what I believe my first step experience. What's going on, Javen? Thanks for tuning in, brother. I appreciate you. That was my first step experience, you know. That was the moment where, because to me, the first step is less about admitting it to somebody else and more about admitting it to yourself. Like, truly, deep down in your heart of hearts, admitting to yourself, I can't do shit about this on my own, right? Like, I have no idea. So I got a sponsor, and he took me through that first step experience. You know, he kind of guided me along that first step experience of like, look, that's if what you're telling me is you genuinely want to stop, and you know all the damage that you cause when you do it, and you're still doing it, even with all of that, and but you can't think of why you don't want to do it when it's around you. That is your first step. That's your powerlessness, right? Like, there is no rational thought or thinking. There is shark eyes, needles in arms, and that's it. So I was going to, you know, while I was homeless here in Birmingham, there was this girl that was in the meetings. I'm not going to drop her name, but I remember she came in and she was as rough as I was. Like, she definitely got high like I got high. And I remember over time just seeing her change, right? Like, seeing not just like she looked physically better, like she wasn't fucking banging heroin every day, but her demeanor changed, the way she talked, like the way she carried herself. You know, she genuinely cared about other people, and you know, just all over improved who she was while she was sober. Like, actually gave a fuck about others, and it was just changes that I saw from the outside that I really wasn't privy to, you know, because to me, the whole like 12-step thing at the time was like, okay, you know, I'm gonna go into this thing and it's gonna make me a Christian, and I'm just gonna like be an evangelist for sobriety for the rest of my life. Like, that was kind of my outline on it, you know, and I put it in such a fucking box, you know, like I felt it was going to be so much less than it really was, because that was the idea that I had. That was the thing, right? That was the rest of my life. I'm just going to go to meetings and be fucking boring and preach sobriety to people for the rest of my life, and that's it. And when I watched her come in and I watched the changes take place in that woman over time, it gave me a true confidence that this thing could make those same changes in me. You know, maybe I wouldn't get like a really good job or like, you know, be driving a fucking nice car or anything. Like, really, to me, that's not even important. The important thing is that, you know, a genuine contentment with the human condition that I was going through. That was the biggest and most important aspect, at least to me, was, you know, she seemed content. Like life wasn't a fucking misery, you know? So, and that was my second step. My second step was just coming to believe that, you know, in my case, it was literally just something other than myself can make a change. Because in my head, I was God, you know? I was the king of all things, and I was the one that knew how everything should be done, and I was the arbiter to, you know, the outcomes of everything that would happen in my life. And the moment I surrendered, I gave that up, and now I had this kind of template on what kind of changes could be made if I tried something I never tried before. So I fucking tried it, you know? In the third step, I made my decision. You know, in the third step, it says, we made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the power or care of God as we understood Him, right? As we understood Him is a big fucking part of that step to me, but I won't digress on that. To me, the third step was solely about, I'm going to do these steps. I'm just going to separate any kind of ideas I have on how they're going to turn out. I'm going to the best of my abilities, make this, like, really give this a shot, no matter what the end outcome is. Like, because I don't know what it's going to be, right? And in that way, it was, to some degree, I was like opening my mind to a future that I had no fucking clue of. I had no idea what was going to happen. And it was incredibly important for me to do that, because in my mind, I knew how everything was going to turn out. And if I just had my way, it would turn out the way I wanted it to, right? But it didn't work like that. So, you know, at the time of doing this step, all I did was write the third step prayer in my own words and say it with my sponsor. And that was it, and that was all it had to be. But it really turned into so much more than that. It turned into like this idea that I know that I don't know everything that's going to happen moving forward, you know? I have like a genuine idea of what I need to do, and that's it. Whether or not that's something that actually comes to fruition is not up to me, you know? I'm just going to go with, some people call it God's will, right? But I'm just going to take this... damn it. I'm going to take this chance to do things to change who I am on a consistent basis, and I'm going to run with it. And I'm really going to give it my fucking damnedest to make it count. Like, that was the third step to me, right? I don't know how this is going to work out. I'm not going to act like I do. But damn, am I gonna fucking try, you know? Doing the fourth step is listing out, it's 3 different inventories, so it's listing out like all of the it's listing out all of the resentments I have against other people and changing my perspective on those things. It's listing out my fears and seeing how they're irrational and how they drive my life. And then it's looking at my relationships with women and seeing how those things have varied in how they've affected me generally, or how I've affected others generally in life. Fuck, I'm not. I need to pay more attention to the story, honestly. Can't pay much attention to the game. And in doing those things, it completely opens my mind to the past, right? So for me, the third step is opening up my mind up to a future that I have no concept of. And the fourth step is opening my mind up to a past that I thought I knew, you know? I thought I had a pretty good idea on how all these people had fucked me over and I was a victim, and, you know, going through this whole process, it showed me that no, I've actually done a pretty good job of causing most of these problems in my life and the lives of others. And yeah, sorry. Just I had to get that gunship out. It was really fucking wrecking me. I've done a lot to hurt other people and put myself in positions to be hurt by other people through my own selfish actions, and that itself wasn't very helpful to me, you know? Like, it helped me, like, see, okay, like, a lot of these things that I hate about other people are... A lot of these things that I hate about other people, that I feel that other people have done to wrong me, yes, I could see it more objectively, you know, but it didn't help the resentment go away necessarily. It didn't do anything for that. It just helped me kind of see it for what it was. So, so in my fifth step, I sat down with a sponsor who, fell asleep during my fifth step, which I don't blame him. But afterwards, what he ended up helping me see, right, was the most insightful thing I got from my fifth step. My sponsor, I had a resentment against my mom for a bunch of shit that happened when I was younger. I don't really need to go into it. I had a big resentment against my mom, and he helped me see that it's not necessarily about what I did wrong in that scenario, because I was a victim in that situation. I didn't do anything to deserve it. It happened, and it's unfortunate that it happened. There's nothing I can do about that. But what he helped me see was, when listing that resentment, it wasn't about what I did in that situation. It was about what I did with that resentment moving forward in my life. And when I looked at that resentment, funny enough, it was number one. When I looked at that resentment, I could see how that bled into literally every other facet of my life. You know, all of my resentments, a lot of my fears, the way I felt about women, like, I mean, just everything. Like, it totally bled into so many aspects of my life. And it really helped me kind of understand the patterns that of behavior that had been going on throughout my life. Like, that was the most important thing to me, I think, in the fifth step. So 6 and 7, a big thing about those, at least for me, was in 6, it was becoming willing to let these things be gone. Like, and I know that's kind of a weird way to put it, I guess, but it was less about, you know, these things just disappearing one day, and more about there are certain ideas that I have about the world that are hindering me from growing. There are certain ideas that I have about people that are hindering me from growing, hindering me from like developing relationships. Like for instance, the idea that I was gonna die alone, right? Like I truly fucking believed that wholeheartedly, and that never changed. That was something I believed for a while into recovery, right? But that's just one example of the kind of old ideas that I can be ready to be rid of them, right? Like I know this thing has to go in my life in order for me to have at least some modicum of fucking happiness, you know, or contentment. Like that has to be gone. So in my 7th step, which at the time, very similar to the 3rd step, it was just a prayer that I said with my sponsor. It was just a prayer that I said with my sponsor. And moving forward, it played so pivotal of a role in my recovery. And like the big thing behind step 7 for me was the humility aspect, right? Like, and you know, people use humility as kind of a buzzword, and I think the biggest thing for me was humility is more about understanding my limitations, like having a true, honest, and accurate view of my strengths and my limitations. And like I'm not gonna do any of this shit perfectly, and I can't expect that of myself. I'm gonna make mistakes, and anybody who, like all the people who know me genuinely in recovery, they know I fucking make mistakes. I made a lot of mistakes in recovery. Luckily I've learned from them, right? But I can't expect myself to go through this whole thing perfect in any way, you know. I have to give myself the same level of grace. I'm doing so shitty because I'm telling this story. I have to give myself the same level of grace that I would give anybody else, you know, that was in a similar situation. Step 8 was listing out all the stuff that I'd done wrong to people. That was similar to step 4 in the regard that like that truly didn't do anything for me, but it was step 9, which is the, you know, in the 12 steps, that's the most popular one, right? That's the one that most people know about, is the amends process, which is where you go up to people that you've harmed and you do your best to make things right with them. And for me, that was really the turning point, because never in my life had I ever done anything to, yeah, by the way, I'm gonna do so fucking bad on this while I'm telling this story. Later I'll do better, promise. But never in my life had I ever taken responsibility for something I'd done, especially like faced people for the shit that I've done to them. And what really brought it to mind to me was my grandmother, because she was dead. And I fucked her over for years. And I would never, ever be able to have that face-to-face moment where I am willing to do whatever I can to make things right with this person that I spent years fucking over. You know? Because that's what the amends process is about. It's not an apology. It's not, hey, you know, sorry about that. Shit, I just quit the game, didn't I? Oh, I'll boot it back up. It's fine. The whole point of it is this is the way that I was taught, right? The way I was taught was you approach somebody, well, you like meet them somewhere, right? Like, hey, I need to make an amends to you. I meet you. You say, hey, I wronged you. This is how I wronged you. Or this is how I wronged you. This is why it was wrong. Have I left anything out? What can I do to make things right? You know, and within reason, right? If they say like, pay me $1 million or something, go fuck yourself. But, within reason, if I truly want to have these things that at one point were really weighing me down, I have to at least meet that amends. And typically it's, you fucked me out of this much money, pay me this much money back, right? Or, you know, to a lot of people, it's don't worry about it. It's over with, you know? Some people have just told me, hey, keep doing what you're doing. Because the whole point of this thing is less about what they ask you to do to make it right, and more about your willingness to do the thing that they want you to do to make it right. And I would he's Blue, he's still here. He's just sitting on the couch. I don't know why. It takes some of the focus off of me when he's sitting next to me. I wish he was. It's like a security blanket. But that was probably the most impactful step for me, was step 9. Step 10 is just kind of like, they call it the walking around step. So it's focusing on, you know, like in step 4, I at that point am able to see what resentment and fear looks like in my life, and the kind of things that it can cause me to do. It's like selfish, dishonest, yada yada. So in step 10, the whole concept behind step 10 is keeping an eye on yourself, watching for that like resentment and fear to crop up, or like understanding that you're doing something selfish or dishonest, talking to somebody about it, praying about it, and then, you know, doing whatever you can to bring yourself to a point where I definitely will. It's bringing yourself to a point where you're present enough to be able to be of service to somebody, to actually be able to help somebody. Like in my case, if I'm wrapped up in resentment, I am stuck in the past. And if I'm wrapped up in fear, I am stuck in the future, and I'm not right now. And for me, if I'm wrapped up in the past or wrapped up in the future, I am fucking useless to everybody and myself, you know? Step 11 is all about routine. So routine for me is like what I do when I wake up. Recently, you know, I'm a big kind of like results person, and I have facts. I'm a big results person, so for me, I have to be able to see something come from something in order for me to do something. I was skeptical about the steps up until I saw that girl do the steps and saw the changes happen in her, like in real time in front of me. And with prayer, I gave it a shot, and like I looked into it, and it is like psychologically proven that if you, oh, thanks, Blue, I appreciate it, man. Psychologically proven to make changes in you. So let's say, for instance, if I want a brand new car and I pray for a brand new car, I'm not gonna get a brand new car. But right. But if I pray, yeah, I know, right? Yeah, that RAV4, bro, that RAV4. But if I'm praying that I want to be honest, dependable, I want to be more responsible with my money so I can save up and get the car that I want, damn, you're much more likely to be the kind of person that is going to be responsible enough to save your money and put it aside for a car, right? Psychologically, and this is like, I don't know if it's necessarily proven, because really in psychology, like everything's a theory, right? But it's been observed many times that when you think something and speak it out, especially when it has to do with your character, that thing fortifies that kind of consistent thinking in your brain. And that translates into your actions. You're much more likely to translate it into actions. And then from there, it's momentum. The more often you do things, the more habitual they become. Your habits become your behaviors, and then your behaviors become your character, right? And in that way, like when I wake up in the morning, I do pray, like, man, I want to be honest today. You know, I want to do what I need to do to progress. I want to do what I need to do to meet all of my commitments. I want to do what I need to do to be honest. I really want to be better than I was yesterday. If I set those intentions in the very beginning of the day, it really makes astronomical differences just in the way I think for the rest of the day. You know, that doesn't necessarily mean that, like, you know, I pray that, you know, I'm a better person, so I'm a fucking saint. That's not how it works. But one thing it does do is helps me be more likely to stay present, so when someone does need me, I can be there for them. And then step 12 is solely about sponsorship. You know, running someone through the steps the way I was run through the steps. And it's funny. So for me, you know, I've sponsored quite a few guys. And at first I had this idea that I was going to be a terrible sponsor. But sponsorship is not about who you sponsor gets sober. It isn't about that at all. Sponsorship is about you being willing to go out of your way to try and help another person when they need it with the steps. You have no control over what other people do. You have no input on where they're at personally. And if I were to grade myself in recovery by the amount of people I've sponsored that have gotten all the way through the steps, I would be a total fucking failure, you know? But at the end of the day, it's, like I said, it's not about trying to push my will that someone else get sober. It's about relating to them on a human level and showing them what somebody else showed me from their position, right? I am not coming down on them. I don't look at them as like they're a fucking dog. Sponsorship for me is solely and only about one thing, and that's relating with people who are addicts, so I don't forget where the fuck I came from, you know? So my life today is, you know, I'm not rich. I live in a decent apartment. I have a car now. I have a good job that I've been working at for 4 years. And it's still astronomically better than it was before, you know? And this is not a pat on my back. Like, yeah, I did the work, right? But that's one part of 3 things. It was the people that were around me. It was the work that I put in. And it was what some people call God. I just call really fucking lucky circumstances that I ended up where I was at that moment that totally changed the course of my life, you know? Like I can wake up in the morning and I can look at myself and I can be proud of who I am today. And that's fucking huge. And I'm not like somebody, right? Like I'm just another junkie who's doing his very best. But that's the kind of things that the steps have brought me. So that's my story. I was kind of tentative to. I really wanted to wait a while before I told that on camera. I was hoping to get other people involved with this, but now that that's out of the way,
Can I ask you why?
oh, thank you. Why what?
Why you would have preferred to wait to tell your story?
I just didn't want to make this all about me.
Oh, I got you.
You know, I really like genuinely my kind of goal with this was, and not even to like have the focus on other people, but just to give different perspectives. And I guess my perspective is just as valid as anybody else's that's been through recovery, right? But I didn't want this whole podcast thing to be solely revolved around me, any episode of it at all, you know. So kind of, if anything, I'm glad that's out of the way. So now in the future, if someone says, you know, I want to see this story, I can send them a YouTube link and I don't have to tell that story again. So anyway, thanks Blue for all the comments in chat, dude.
I chimed in some too.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it. So I don't know if Blue was asking me that, or telling me to ask you that, or telling you to ask me that, but I'll go ahead and take that as Blue was telling me to ask you what intrigued you to become friends with me and what's made our bond strong.
That's what I was. I don't know how far reach this has. That's what I thought was being said in the chat. I mean, honestly, I think it was just like a natural set of circumstances that we were at Sober Living together. Like, I think, I don't know, some of the nice things you were saying about Buddy that I was agreeing with, Blue, is just your nature is very authentic and organic, and that's the nature of our relationship. Like, we play music, we played a lot of music together, and that was kind of where we first connected, besides the fact that I came from Florida and Buddy lived in that area. I had lived a couple years his whole life, so we never like directly known each other prior to meeting at Sober Living here in Alabama, but like I guess there was just an icebreaker naturally, you know. And I don't know, like I've been like homies with you through thick and thin, and it's really funny because we don't always like see each other because we're both super big. Like I was saying to Brent, funny enough, I think the other day I see you like maybe 2-3 times a year, but when that happens, it's not like 1, 2, 3 different times. It's like a concentrated dose. We see each other like off and on for a couple of weeks or so, and then we keep loose contact till we're like, man, let's hang out. So and that's kind of what happened last week. I hit him up and he was telling me that this podcast thing was happening, and I was intrigued. So I'm always interested in what Buddy has going on in his life. So.
Glad you came on.
So, yeah.
Glad you came on. So sorry I didn't do Discord call with you. Yeah, no, Blue, you're good, man. Dude, it's fine. It's fine. Like, please, you're good, dude. Living with someone is one thing. Choosing to be involved with them and have them in your life is a decision. Friends are beyond important. Abso-fucking-lutely, I agree, dude. That is huge, bro. Good friends, they can be so fucking hard to come by, too, man. Like,
really
just
feel like it just I've never. Like it just happens, you know, and I don't know.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely, dude. Absolutely. Yeah, man. And if it wasn't for people like this, I wouldn't be sober today. You know, and that's not even like I'm not trying to stroke his ego or anything, bro. Like I genuinely mean that. I'm grateful to have people that I have in my life today. You know. Yeah, that's pretty much it, Blue. But yeah, dude, please don't feel bad that you couldn't actually be on tonight, bro. I appreciate you tuning in, and I appreciate you still adding to the conversation. Like, even though you're not in the thing, like I fucking appreciate it for real, man. What you got, Brandon?
Me, I've got a lot actually. Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
you saw me writing there on the side. I mean, it's kind of a lot of different angles. We've just been, Buddy and I have been talking like all week, just like, I don't know why, just random selection that I've like hype about what he's doing. So I've been like telling him ideas I've had. And so anyway, yeah, I was like writing questions relevant to recovery and, you know, his story, which is really impactful. I don't think I've heard your story for like a couple years, maybe. I want to say it's been like 2. So like there are certain parts of it that I'm like, oh fuck, like I forgot that was like a thing that happened to you. It's like so tragic, but I'm laughing because it's beautiful that we're like all here together and like you know being sober. And I think like what's interesting about your story, and I've only heard it in the conventional way, and I guess I don't want to be like controversial, but like there's some things, I don't know, there's a lot of questions I have, but I'm also like you know, like 12-step stuff is so interesting in like the psychology of things, and sometimes I think outside of that, and I think we've had like conversations about that, and I think one of the main questions of many, because they go back to that point, is kind of like what's something the 12 steps like weren't able to teach you, you know, in your recovery that you learned.
I have something for this. The 12 steps were not able to teach me how to deal with like my actual mental illnesses. I went to a doctor for that, and they prescribed me the medicine I need to be prescribed. Anybody who is going through recovery, there's this weird thing that can happen in the rooms where people will like, sometimes people will tell, God damn it, sometimes people will tell people they don't need like pharmaceutical drugs for mental health issues that they have. I am mentally ill, and I need those things, and I don't take Xanax or anything you can get high off of, right? But those things help me stay sane, you know? Those things help me manage my mental illness aside from the symptom of drug addiction, and that's a huge thing for me. Now granted, that may be an opinion, right? I'm not trying to shill for the pharmaceutical companies, but that's a big thing. Is there's a line between like the steps can help you deal with the way that you
Charlie's.
Oh yeah. The steps can help you deal with your interactions with drugs and like with, you know, the kind of human condition of selfishness run riot, but 12 steps cannot help you deal with bipolar. Can't help you deal with schizophrenia. It can't help you deal with, you know, a myriad of other things. So I just wanted to make that clear. Is that what you were asking?
Yeah, more or less.
Okay.
I mean, yeah. I mean, whatever's true to you with that. So no, that's sufficient. I think I wanted to also kind of dig into your feelings a little bit, not like in a way like I'm poking, but as far as like with your story, there's just like there's a lot of depth to it emotionally. And I guess one of the first questions I wrote was just like, can you recall like the first time someone honestly wanted to help you when you weren't quite ready? And so like, what did that look like, and what did you take away from that experience? Now that's a loaded question.
I mean, aside from my family, there was this girl back home, and I really liked her, and she really liked me, and she was willing to risk her, essentially her living situation, to let me stay with her when I was a drug addict, and you know, that was not a good idea. I'll just leave it at that. But took away that, you know, people have a lot of heart, and they don't understand that when, at least for me, I'll speak for myself, right? For someone like me, it takes coldness and hardness in order to get a message across. And I know I'm not the only person like that, you know? There's a level of harshness that you have to have with some people to really to really make a change in them, you know. I mean, that's how it was with my sponsor. That's how it's been, you know, to a large degree for everything in general. I needed somebody who would be incredibly tough on me, because what they call the easier, softer way, or the emotional appeal, just didn't work. Is that what you were asking?
Yeah, no, that's a great answer. I see Blue wrote in the chat a question for you, and it said, besides probably HIV meds, do you use anything else to help with what's happened with your body from use?
So yeah, I mean, I had a couple ulcers pop while I was getting high. So I take ulcer medication for my stomach. I will say one bad thing, and I don't know if this was necessarily the drug addiction or what, but one bad thing that came from it was low testosterone. So I'm on like complete testosterone replacement now. Yeah, I'm just on my psych meds. So that's essentially it. I mean, you know, when I get infections, they fucking suck, man. Like, they're bad. But that's about it. I think that I hope that was a...
Was that sufficient, Blue? I'm gonna, in the meantime, because I take it he's like using text chat instead of mic tonight. Okay, so and I don't mean to get too deep into the feels, but I think what I'm trying to convey as well when we're doing this, maybe to some, and I know you, Blue, is like the emotional complexities that we face in active addiction that can be parallel to any normal individual in society, you know. And I think like some of these experiences have like physical, like you're like in these tragic settings, but like one thing I've learned just in, you know, my recovery and trying to empathize with a lot of people in life, because I, you know, speak to a lot of individuals that have had way darker pasts than myself, is understanding that we've all felt the same emotions. And that's the weird thing. It's like, yeah, like some of the things you explain with relevance to being like completely absently like homeless and just some like really heavy, dark, you know, shit. Like, and I've experienced much of that of my own too, just in a way where our settings were different, but we processed the same type of emotional pain. And it's funny when you talk to individuals that don't understand, because their experience in life isn't including hardcore substance abuse, you can connect by nature of like, man, like sometimes it is like as silly as the same heartache as a broken heart as someone who's like chronically dope sick, and it sounds insane, but I've also had the chronic heartache in life as well. But like, I think that's like the idea of like trying to reduce stigmas and having compassion and empathy, but also understanding like adults and maturity with responsibility. We take actions that are fucked up, right. But I think it's a really complex subject, and I love it. That's why I've been super into it. But I think one thing I wanted to ask you, what have your worst moments taught you in your life and recovery today? Like, of some of like the darker, grittier parts of your life, is there anything you've actually taken from those experiences to attribute to like a positive lifestyle you live in your recovery?
I mean, the only one that can really come to mind is just the relationship that I have with my grandmother, you know. Like that idea of she's dead, and the fact of the matter is I'm never ever in my life going to be able to make things right with her face to face. What it brings me to, and like the emotions I felt from that, makes me never want to do that to anybody ever again, right? And whether that be kind of selfish that, you know, I don't want to do that to somebody because I don't want to feel the emotions that I feel from not being able to make things right with them. You can call that selfish, whatever it is, but you know, I don't want to have to live with anything for the rest of my life. I guess that's the best way I can put it, right? I do my best to be right by other people. I'm not perfect at it, and I still fucking say things I don't mean sometimes, and do things that, you know, weren't of like genuine intent, and a lot of it's driven out of fear and resentment. Some of the things that I've done, you know, like sober and still today, but it makes me recognize when somebody genuinely has like my best interests at heart, and makes me want to preserve those relationships to the best of my ability. You know, because I have their best interest at heart. I want good for them. You know, so I guess that's the most glaring thing coming to mind.
Yeah, there is some lag in the chat, or not the chat, the video. I was actually looking.
Is there?
Yeah, it was for him, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
I'm sure. What else you got going through your head? I got plenty more questions. I just don't want it to be like that. You know,
no, you're good, man.
Like I'll bore you to death with something. Well, we can use these as just like a backup in context. I'm kind of curious. Lou asked some really good questions last time. If you have anything. Okay, so yeah, he does have another. Oh no, he did. He just.
Oh yeah. So
or no, I think he's asking me as well, but I don't know if you finished your point with that.
Oh yeah. I'm done. I mean, I take ulcer meds, but aside from HIV, that's it.
Yeah. In all truth, I'll answer that really quick. Like I don't know. I didn't do like egregious damage to my body. Thankfully, I have a really embarrassing story from like a year and a half ago. It's really embarrassing. I've only told like a couple people, but no, I'll say it. But like when you mentioned the plasma, I was thinking that, dude, I was broke as shit like a year and a half ago, and this is in like recovery, just talking of the nature of financial insecurity and things to that effect. But like, you know, I've grown, I've learned, I have money, and you know, I'm good. Yeah. But it's funny because I was gonna go on this trip with my roommates or whatever to Europe, and I didn't have the money to do it, even though I wanted to go, and I didn't want to because I have insecurities and stuff. So I was just like, I'm not gonna tell anyone I can't afford this. So I started going to said plasma clinic, not the one you went to, but just a plasma clinic.
Yeah.
And I think I went like 3 times, and it was really embarrassing. Because I had a faint feeling I knew I had fucking hepatitis, but like I never had symptoms. I must have been like asymptomatic or whatever.
Yeah.
And they pulled me into a room and they were like, "Hey, you got hepatitis," and I was like, "You're kidding? Oh no!" Like, because I fucking knew, which is embarrassing. That's why I mean, I don't really care. It's the truth of my story. But so what I had to do in that moment, obviously, was go to my primary care doctor, see a specialist. They hooked me up with the fucking Hep C medication. Thank God they developed modern medicine, because I heard it used to be really harsh on the body. But no, I don't take as far as physical ailments or, you know, decay from using, I just had to get on Hep C medication, which in today's world is a 3-month pill, and
hold on,
cured.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, did it? Cool. So yeah, that's my answer. It was a long one. It just had that story with it. So sorry.
No, you're good. No, man. 100%.
I've never told you that.
Nope.
It's super embarrassing. I mean, I got like $400. That's like
I wish they would have given me that much money.
Man, I was going for that 1100. But yeah, how do you feel about telling your story?
Oh fuck! None of that was on stream.
Oh.
None of that story you just said was on. Yeah. Hey, it's all good.
It was meant to be.
Hey, Blue, me and you and Brandon can talk about that. If he wants to tell you that story at some other time, we can just do it.
I'll give you the cliff notes without the story. I had to also take like hepatitis medication for 3 months because I tested positive some time ago. So thankfully modern medicine is developed, because back in the day I was saying how it is very harsh on the body, or it was back in the day with the beta medication. But yeah, it's just a 3-month pill, and that's the only like thing I've had come up from my history using where I've needed meds. So
Hep C, yes.
Hep C, it gets a lot of it. Back in the day, it used to kill us. Like, it used to kill a lot of things. Hey, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Hep C used to freak me out when I was young and using Hep. I was like, I don't want to get it. Like, I treat it like
Oh yeah.
until
no,
I said
100%.
fuck it. That's it.
Yeah,
Allied destroyer coordinates received.
That's good.
Mission
Glad
coordinates. Allied
Yeah,
destroyer
love you, Blue.
has joined
Thanks,
squadron.
Blue.
Engaging orbital thrusters.
Yeah, what else goes through your mind? What, like, when you tell your story, I guess, like, you prep for it, or you just let it go, or I guess what's the value or significance in telling your story?
I mean, it helps remind me,
Synchronized.
what's going on. That's for sure. It's definitely important for me to keep that in the back of my mind, where I came from. Oh, seriously?
What? Sure, what's up with your connection?
Yeah.
Is it your internet?
I don't know. I may have to. It shouldn't be, because I have a gig. I may have to.
Cut out?
Yeah, I may have to close the stream, because if I'm having issues, then there's
How
no
many
point
people
in-
you got in there? Just 3?
Yeah, I think it's just me, you, and Blue.
Okay.
Yeah. So that'll be a wrap for this one. Blue, I appreciate you tuning in. No, man. Oh, Jackson has it.
Fuck. Who's
Yeah,
Jackson?
sorry. My buddy.
God damn it.
Yeah, thank you, bro. Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut it here.
Blue saying
Don't
nice
apologize. Yeah.
things. Oh,
yeah.
Blue, you're a kind soul.
He really is, man. All right. Well, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'm gonna pull Discord up. All right, stream is over.